Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagatirthamashoke Bhakti Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandarupa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurtase Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurami Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishakano Pranamami Hari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Is it all good? We can start. Hare Krishna, so welcome everyone for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are reading from 4th canto and we're going to start with 16th chapter for today. We're meeting after a while. Just a quick recap of what has happened in the previous chapter. So in the 15th chapter, the discussion was about the appearance of Prithu Maharaj. And after his appearance, the sages or the poets, they begin to glorify Prithu Maharaj. Hearing his glorification, Prithu Maharaj, in the following, at least in the last 3-4 verses, he spoke about the quality of praise. And he said in verse number 24, how could an intelligent man, competent enough to possess such exalted qualities, allow his followers to praise him if he did not actually have them? So he's saying, if I have not manifested those qualities right now, then why are you glorifying me? Praising a man by saying if he were educated, he might have become a great scholar, a great personality, is nothing but a process of cheating. A foolish person who agrees to accept such praise does not know that such was simply insulting. So there is no point of praising me. I have not manifested that. In fact, such words of praise turns out to be an insult. Next, 25th, he says, praise, even if it is manifested, praise seems to be a sarcasm. No learned man would like to hear his own glories. As a person with a sense of honor and magnanimity does not like to hear about his abominable actions, a person who is very famous and powerful does not like to hear himself praised also. And the third, my dear devotees, headed by the Sutta, just now I am not very famous because I have not done anything praiseworthy. Therefore, how could I engage you in praising my activities exactly like your children? So I was making a point last time in the culture in those days. So kings would have a set of people in his entourage whose job profile was to glorify the king. I don't think so I spoke about the need for it, but just to clarify, it might sound a little strange. Why would king need to hire somebody just to praise him? Any thoughts about it? And kings would have always. There will be some poets, even brahmanas glorifying. In fact, Prabhupada is one of the purpose. The kings will wake up hearing his glories. Not that this is an entirely atheistic style of king. No, it's not like Hiranyakashipu. Of course, poets will sing the glories of the Lord also, but there was a glorification of the king also. Why would king need glorification? Yes, Sarah Prabhu.
I'm not sure, but they have to maintain themselves in mode of passion, or they have to stay motivated
Okay,
always.
so mode of passion. Okay, good. Thank you. What else? Any other thought? Why would they have this? What was the need for it?
They will remember their strength.
They remember their strength. Okay. So the idea is leadership. Now this chapter 16 is all going to talk about leadership qualities. Leadership in general, I would say for ignorant masses, seems like a very thrilling position. Leadership is something which ignorant masses desire to aspire, or they aspire to have it. But leadership is, in one way, is a burden of love. There is no joy. There may be some sign of privileges, which generally people look at it, but they don't look at the burden that it carries, the responsibility and the challenges it carries. So just to remain active and continue with responsibility. Now, for example, remember Yudhishthira Maharaj, how much consoling he needed to become the king? Yudhishthira Maharaj didn't want to be the king, isn't it? How much coaxing, how much consoling. So many people had to come and speak to him, become the king, become the king, become the king. And Yudhishthira didn't want to be the king. So, in that point of view, so just to have somebody encourage and speak encouraging word, this will keep them motivated to continue to perform their responsibility. Otherwise, it becomes very challenging and difficult. Leadership is a position where people are always drawing strength from you. Leadership is a position where people are always asking for guidance. Leadership is a position where people only comes to you when there is a problem. So you become like, a problem solver. That's what all of leadership about. And when you are not able to solve the problem to the expectation of the audience, then they begin to criticize you. You tried your best, yet you get criticized. So why do you want to do that duty? What is the point of it? Only a foolhardy would aspire for such a thing. So there was a culture, there was a custom that there would be a set of people as part of our culture who would glorify the king and tell the king, "King, you are so good, king, you are so intelligent, you are the best problem solver." And therefore Prathamaji is saying, "You're glorifying me, I have not done anything. I have not solved any case, I have not performed a responsibility, don't glorify me." And see what the last verse says. "My dear devotees headed by the Sutta, just now I am not very famous for my personal activities because I have not done anything praiseworthy. Therefore, how could I engage you? How could I engage you in praising my activities?" What does it mean, how could I engage you? These were the people who were hired by the king. They were the part of the king's entourage. Okay, so for those of us who have this idea, I believe I have spoken in the past also, spiritual hierarchy and material hierarchy. It's like a pyramid. Remember those relationship seminars we did last year? So what does the spiritual hierarchy looks like? At the top of the spiritual hierarchy, at the top of the pyramid is Krishna. Then you have Brahmanas. Then you have Kshatriyas. Then you have Vaishyas. Then you have Shudras. This is the Varnashrama Dharma. Now you have a material hierarchy, material pyramid. In material pyramid, everyone is trying to climb up. And they want to get to the top position. What is the idea? Let's draw the contrast. If you don't remember, you can draw the picture, keep it in mind for yourself. It will help you in resolving your own inner conflict about what you want. So in a material pyramid, which means material pyramid means you're living in a society of material consciousness. And that's where you get a material pyramid, a material hierarchy, a mundane hierarchy. In the case of mundane hierarchy, the idea is the more I climb up the hierarchy, the more people I have underneath me who I can exploit. Because in mundane consciousness and material consciousness, the more I exploit, the more powerful I become. Or the more powerful I am, the symptom of it, there are more people I can exploit. And the more powerful I am, is more protected I am in this mundane society. Which means the more safe I am. Because in this society there is no question of happiness. It's only about jivo jivasya jivanam. It's all about protection. If you feel sense of protection, you feel you're happy. So higher climb up the hierarchy, you think you're becoming protected. So therefore there is always a tug of war. In a spiritual hierarchy, the top position is already given. And the Varnashram is established. This is the hierarchy of service. So higher you go, you have more dependence to take care. I repeat myself. The higher you go, you have more dependence to take care. More dependence means more burden. It's a burden of love. Of course, in the same way in the material hierarchy of mundane consciousness or mundane hierarchy, again you have more dependence, but people don't see dependence. People see them as an opportunity to exploit. But the consciousness over here is, the more people I have underneath me, is they are my dependents. So we discussed about king in the first canto when we were talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Praja, what does word Praja means? Praja does not mean only a human species. Prabhupada clarifies Praja, which means the one who has taken birth. Which means every plant, every bird, every animal, every species that has taken birth in your kingdom becomes your Praja. So what is the king's responsibility? Is to protect everyone. Which means he has to sort out, he has to provide facility for everyone. Now if a lion is a carnivorous animal, you can't force him to become herbivorous. Which means the king has to ascertain the carnivorous animal has things for his to eat. Similarly, we see in Dwarka, there was a prostitution house. Now in Dwarka there was a prostitution house, which means king had to arrange. Surasena had to arrange people who are gonna be a fifth category, or who are drifting towards a fifth category. They don't pollute rest of the community, so there should be a place like this. Can you imagine what level of management, organization, what level of thinking is needed to organize this? So that's the reason. Now if you do all this thing, in a Vedic hierarchy, this is what Vedic hierarchy we're talking about. Your life, as you climb up the hierarchy, is all about service. And particularly administrator, a Kshatriya, how much he has to organize, he has to provide for everyone, not only for human species, for every species. He has to make sure every species has got his things taken care of. And now, while doing things for others, 24/7, you cannot satisfy everyone. You just cannot please. When it comes to making decisions, when you have to resolve a conflict, one party will become happy, one party will be sad. Yes or no? One party will be happy, one party will complain that this was not right, you didn't hurt me properly or whatnot. So to avoid that sense of feeling for a king, he feels like, oh, I'm not able to serve properly. Therefore, in Vedic culture, there was a system of poets or the set of brahmanas who would glorify the king. आपने देखा होगा जो पहले सीरियस आया करते थे, शहंशाह या आला मार रहे हैं, जो से वो हल्ला मचाया करते थे, अब वो तो मुगलों के टाइम का है यार, but there is एक बड़ा ऐसा लगता था pump, there's a huge grandeur, somebody is coming, and you and I may think, अरे हाँ उसका force ही वो बढ़ जाएगा, क्या होगा, but it is needed for him to continue to serve. Otherwise, I hell with everything, yeah, I'm happy with 3 BHK and 2 kids. Why do I take tension of everyone? आजकल 2 बच्चे हैंडल करने में मुश्किल होता है, सोचो ना हैंडल प्रजा. That's the whole idea. Now, so the very first point which I wanted to set up here, to establish, to help you understand with this last few verses, leadership is not an opportunity to exploit. Leadership is an opportunity to serve. So before we take the leadership opportunity, we have to ask ourselves, are we willing to serve or not? Are we qualified to serve? And that's a storyline going on here. Vena was made a king, but he was not willing to serve. Vena was made the king, but he was not willing to serve. He was made the king because there was no other alternative, and he was the best person considering he belonged to the royal lineage. Because he was not willing to serve, so what he did? He caused havoc. And then he was thrown away. Not thrown away, he was killed by the curse. And now what happened? We got Prithu Maharaj. So why Prithu Maharaj has been appointed as a king for? To serve. So, following Lord Ram's example, what is the duty of a king? If you talk about leadership, he has to worry about praja more than his own interest. You cannot be in a leadership role when you first put priority to your own family. And then you think about, I'll think about everyone else later on. when the question came for Lord Ram, should he let go of Sita or allow the criticism to flourish in the society? You all know the passage? So what did Lord Ram choose? He let go of his own personal comfort, convenience, and his most beloved wife, and the only wife. For what sake? For the sake of Praja. For the sake of my larger family. If it is needed for me to exercise, sacrifice, or undergo austerity, Lord Ram was willing to take that. That's what leadership is. That's what king is. You can't be in a leadership role taking care of people, and first you say, no, first I'm going to make sure all my interest of my family is taken care. If it is taken care, only then I'll be able to take care. Then you really can't do your job. Then you do your job in a certain level. It's not that you can't still perform. You can be just like a minister or maybe a council, something like that. But you cannot be the top person. Top person, whoever it is, has to sacrifice. The life is all about sacrifice. That's a Vedic hierarchy. That's a Vedic hierarchy model like that. So now we'll see the chapter 16. So I'm just, frankly speaking, I just opened the book right now. I just woke up from my health issue. So whatever is leadership को सोच के मेरे दिमाग में जो आ रहा है, I'm just trying to build a ecosystem here right now. So when you get into this chapter 16, when it talks about leadership qualities, we get to know what leadership is. So for all of us, we kind of live a dual life in this world. So we have a Vedic culture to uphold within our ISKCON pyramid or ISKCON ecosystem. At least try to sustain it, try to live by it. And then you have your own life in the outside world. You cannot follow that over there. And then you have to fight for survival there. So it's a challenge, no doubt about it. But it can be helpful if we are aware of it. And be cautious, do not bring that model into the ISKCON pyramid or ISKCON family or ISKCON society. It can cause havoc. People can lose faith. And don't bring their consciousness over here. If I become leader, something will happen. You can just take a minute, a pause for 10 seconds and think about all the leaders you knew, beginning from the chairman of your own society. Everyone has been kicked out. Yes or no? How much ever had been good how much ever you have tried to serve the society or whatnot, ultimately you have been kicked out. Leadership is a thankless task. It's not easy. So therefore, and that's the first thing. The second thing, therefore the Kshatriya king was allowed to have multiple wives. Why the king had multiple wives? They needed so much inspiration. Unless you understand this concept, you cannot understand the next thing, why they needed so much inspiration. It was just like their life was always being drained out. People were always taking. So they needed that inspiration, constant inspiration. And please understand, their life was not like 100 years. 25 साल में राजा बन गया, 50 साल में रिटायर हो गया. 25 साल का जॉब प्रोफाइल नहीं हुआ करता था उस समय. वो जॉब प्रोफाइल was for hundreds of years. Please look at the whole spectrum of the thing what we're talking about. The job profile was for hundreds of years. Dhruv Maharaj ruled for 36,000 years. One wife would become boring after a while. I guess hearing praise for one wife only. I'm just trying to put things in the context of why they had. This is Vedic culture. You can't deny it. You can't say no. I will not accept this part of reality. Why there was a polygamy, we call it, right? Polygamy, we call it, right? Yes. Why it was there? It was not other way around. Not that the lady would need 5 husbands. Therefore, the Draupadi case was the most unique case. But the king would need it to rule for such a long period of time. He needed inspiration, so therefore it was allowed. I'm just giving you some clues to understand how Vedic culture was so scientific, so thoughtfully designed. And it's not designed by us, it's given by the Lord. Just to make it sustainable. Just to make your life sustainable in this world. Now when you enter Kali Yuga, all of this is banished. So why am I talking? Just when you read in Bhagavatam, when you come across a certain king, Chitraketu Maharaj had so many queens, etc., etc. So then you may think from the British taught education to us, there was polygamy, etc., etc. No, understand where was the right context for it. Okay? Chapter 16, text number 1. Maitrivacha Iti Brahmanam Narpatim Gayaka Manichoditaha Tushtu Vastushta Manasas Tadavagabrita Sevaya. The great sage Maitreya continued, while King Prithu thus spoke, the humility of his nectarian speeches pleased the reciters very much. Then again they continued to praise the king highly with exalted prayers as they had been instructed by the great sages. So everyone there became pleased by the truthful words spoken by Prithu Maharaj. He made them very clear, So that was his humility also. And the sages here said, yes, that is the foremost quality for a leader. What is that? Humility. Yes, nothing else might have manifested in him, but one thing have manifested rightly. That is humility. Now you continue to glorify. So one quality that can allow us to survive in a leadership role is humility. And if you don't have this, the opposite of it is pride and arrogance. So humility will make us dear to everyone, and arrogance will destroy. And history speaks for itself. We know of many examples like that. Alright, let's continue. And Prabhupada writes in the purport on the quality of humility. And he says in the second paragraph, the last line, thus we have to learn from the Lord or His incarnation how to become gentle and humble. An example of a humble king? Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira. The king's behavior was very pleasing to the reciters, and consequently reciters continued their praise and even foretold the king's future activities. So imagine, the king has the qualities. How easy will it be for the reciters to recite now? They'll also be happy, na? They'll also be happy. And there's a symbiotic relationship in everything we do. The king manifests those qualities, and the reciters, they become happy seeing that the king has a quality, and they happily glorify the king like that. Text number 2. So this particular chapter, now the reciters being encouraged by the sages, they'll continue to glorify the king, make some very beautiful points about what's leadership all about, and also will explain about the future activities. They'll be foretelling what will be the future activities of Prithu Maharaj. Text number 2. The reciters continued, my dear king, you are a direct incarnation of the Lord Vishnu, and by His causeless mercy you have descended on this earth. Therefore it is not possible for us to actually glorify your exalted activities. Although you have appeared through the body of King Vena, even great orators and speakers like Lord Brahma and other Devtas cannot exactly describe the glorious activities of your Lordship. The very first point, you're not a human being. If you were a human being, we could glorify something. You are a Supreme Personality Godhead. How much ever we try to glorify, it will not be enough, because we cannot know you fully. We cannot understand you in full. Because we cannot understand you in full, we cannot glorify you fully. So whatever we have said so far is not even a speck of your qualities. Is not even the beginning. Your qualities are unlimited. And then, again, as we've seen in the past, so just like Dhruva Maharaj, how did Dhruva Maharaj glorify the Lord? Could glorify the Lord by the mercy of the Lord. So Prabhupada says, we can glorify the Lord by His mercy only. Text number 3. Although we are unable to glorify you adequately, we nonetheless have a transcendental taste for glorifying your activities. We shall try to glorify you according to the instruction received from the authoritative sages and scholars. Whatever we speak, however, is always inadequate and very insignificant. Dear King, because you are a direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all your activities are liberal and ever laudable. What does the word liberal means? Liberal is a very famous word in these days. Liberalism, and there's so many slangs have come. I don't want to use those slangs here. What does the word liberal means to you? Huh? Independent. Liberal, not exactly independent, but close, subset of it. what does liberal means? Let me take a look what is the Sanskrit word Prabhupada translating that liberal. Not conservative. Okay. What else liberal means? Huh? Giving freedoms.
Outgoing.
Okay, I don't see exact word here. Okay, I'll have to look into this. Maybe tomorrow I'll look into this. Somebody can mark for this. I'll look at the commentary and come back. I don't see the exact word meaning. So Prabhupada might have included this because of some context. We'll take it this later point, that point, then when I have a reference here. Alright. Prabhupada writes in the last few lines, even though preachers of the Krishna conscious movement may be unable to describe the glories of the Lord, they can nonetheless go everywhere and request people to chant Hare Krishna. The last few lines of the purport. So yes, we may not be able to glorify the Lord enough, but we can still go around and encourage people to chant the holy names of the Lord. Text number 4, important verse. Isha dharma pratam shrishto lokam dharme anuvartayam guptacha dharma setuna shashtatat paripantina. This King Maharaj Pratu is the best amongst those who are following religious principles, which means he is Dharmic King. As such, he will engage everyone in the pursuit of religious principles, which means Varnashrama Dharma, and give those principles all protection. He will protect Varnashrama Dharma. He will also be a great chastiser to the irreligious and atheistic, the one who will not follow Varnashrama Dharma. So he will also be a great chastiser, irreligious and atheistic. I mean, when this mention about dharma, religion, how do we understand that? This is in context of Varnashrama Dharma. So somebody is irreligious. What does irreligious means? When does a Brahmana becomes irreligious? When can a Kshatriya become irreligious?
Not following his duty.
Brahmana not following his duty. Like what? Okay. When does Kshatriya becomes irreligious? So, baseline is irreligious means irresponsible. Is that correct? So, you have been tasked with certain responsibility if you have been identified as a Brahmana. You have been tasked with certain responsibility if you have been identified as a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Similarly, this is Varna. But the picture is not complete. There is an ashram also. Then in ashram there is Brahmachari, then Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. So he has to protect Varna, he has to also protect ashram. So Brahmachari has a code of conduct, Grahastha has a code of conduct, similarly Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. So when a person becomes irresponsible, then it leads to irreligious practices. So, question to be pondered and thought about for all of us, even for me. How much responsible are we in our Varna and our Ashrama? How much responsible we are in our own Varna and our own Ashrama? I was having one meeting, I will not name the person, and I forgot. He was talking about his friend who is this owner of this Dr. Reddy or something, lab or something. I believe that's the lab. That one also another one. So his, is it making noise outside? Okay. What was I saying? So, this gentleman is around 90-year-old. He's a billionaire. His son is a dean at Harvard University and has a daughter. Both are settled in America in a very respectable position like that. So, the person who I've been dealing with, so he said I was talking to him And I was asking him, I'm also about to retire. He's 70-year-old. He's about to retire in the coming days. So we were discussing about his next stage of life. So he said, I was speaking to my friend who is 90-year-old. I said, how you look so happy? What's the secret of your happiness? So now this person doesn't have much, he's not connected to spiritual culture as we are, but he has his own spiritual life. He said, I learned I follow three things in my life. Three things. The first thing, what I remember is, he said the very first thing he said is discipline. I just do not allow anything to break my discipline. Discipline means I have exercise to do. I have a particular diet regimen. Even every year now I go for 2 to 3 months to America, spend time with my family and in my network. I still follow my regiment. And that was the main point that kind of in my conversation stuck to me. Other 2 points I don't remember. I kind of didn't even pay attention to it because I was so thinking about the word discipline. I said, this is so true, this is so true. Discipline is equivalent to responsibility. Discipline is equal to responsibility. If you are becoming responsible, you are becoming disciplined in your life. What do you all think about it? Yes or no? If you are becoming responsible in your life, you are becoming disciplined. You will make sure. And therefore, if you see, our life was so organized. Everything, if you go back and look back at the life of your grandparents, their schedules were so set. सोने का समय set होता था, सुबह उठने का समय set होता था. They will do the same thing. If you look at it now, what we're discussing now, from this point of view, were they disciplined or not? And how healthy they lived, how happy they lived. And for us, we have kind of, the way we are living our life, do you agree, is not disciplined at all? Of course, Prabhupada came in and Prabhupada tried to give us a discipline, sleep early, wake up early, chant your rounds and whatnot. So that was the first point I was thinking, discipline is something. When you talk about responsible life, it becomes a vague term sometimes, And it had been a little vague term for me also because I've been speaking about dharma means being responsible in your varna and your ashrama. But now it is so abstract because there are 4 types of varna, 4 types of ashram. But there can be one thing which can define how I can become responsible. Then one principle that defines, regardless of your varna and ashram, which can make us responsible is become disciplined. If we can become disciplined in our life, our varna and our ashram will begin to settle. And with that foundation, because that was the first point he said. He told me 3 golden rules that I follow and I've been always following is discipline, live a disciplined life. And I can tell you, if you look around the lives of those billionaires, and in fact for those people who are nothing but they went on to become like this, one quality you'll observe is of discipline. The difference, now probably we can put it in this, with the discipline between a successful spiritualist and a regular spiritualist is of discipline. We all can think all in bunch on it, but when he said that point, it just struck me very hard. I said, discipline, we don't pay attention to it enough. We talk about too many lofty things, but we forget on that. And therefore, Prabhupada in the very first canto, we write 3 qualities that is needed for a person to become successful. Anyone remembers? Discipline, obedience, and submissiveness. DOS. Prabhupada already taught that. Okay, text number 5. The king alone in his own body will be able in due course of time to maintain all living entities and keep them in a pleasant condition by manifesting himself as different devatas to perform various departmental activities. Thus he will maintain the upper practice system by inducing the populace to perform various sacrifices. In due course of time he will also maintain the earthly planet by discharging proper rainfall. Okay, I didn't pay attention to the purport of the previous verse, but we talked about the previous verse, right? Varnashrama. That was the duty of Varnashrama. Here, the Prabhupada is talking about, the verse is talking about the symbiotic relationship between the devatas and the human beings, which Krishna talks about in 3rd chapter, verses 11, 12, 13. I have created a system of yajna and sacrifice. So the humans perform sacrifice, and they offer oblations. Then oblations nourishes the devatas. Devatas being pleased by those oblations will fulfill the desires of the human beings. So as a king, he will take care of that. So the king alone in his own body will be able in due course of time to maintain all living entities and keep them in a pleasant condition by manifesting himself as devatas to perform various departmental activities. For more details, I'm just giving you a synopsis. Papa will go into more details of what it all means. Like that. Text number 6. Vasukala upadatte kale chayam manchati sabhasarveshu bhuteshu pratapan suryavad vibhu. This king Prithu will be as powerful as a sun god. Just as the sun god equally distributes his sunshine to everyone, King Prithu will distribute his mercy equally. So what's going to happen here now? They're going to talk about that how through the body of the king, different devatas will manifest. The different qualities of the devatas will manifest through the body of the king. Just like we know in the case of Nahusa, when Nahusa was elevated to become King Indra. At that point of time we read, when he sat on the throne and when his, the ceremony of coronating him as a king happened, after that, Nahusa became the most powerful person. How he became the most powerful person? Which means he had the strength of all the kings, of all the devatas. It was something, a privilege or a package given when somebody will take the responsibility. He had the strength of the Surya, he had the strength of the Vayu and everything. And of course, all those devatas will come and offer their blessings and best of the gifts also. So something like this, the king will also have the strength and power. He is no ordinary person by any means. He would be so powerful that, and so dharmic, that he would manifest all the devatas, the qualities of devatas. That's how we'll see that. So King Prithu will be as powerful as a sun god. Just as a sun god equally distributes his sunshine to everyone, King Prithu will distribute his mercy equally. This is the meaning of liberal. Liberal means you're equal, you're not going to be biased. Similarly, just as the god evaporates water for 8 months, sun god, and during the rainy season returns it profusely, this king will also exact taxes from its citizens and return these monies in time of need. So the Papa talks about what is the taxation system according to Vedic understanding, how it works. So when the kingdom is flourishing, so the king will exact taxes. By the time of the need, particularly in the winter season, when particular crops will not grow, then the king will provide for the sustenance of his project. Text number 7. This King Prithu will be very, very kind to all citizens, even though a poor person may trample over the king's head by violating the rules and regulations. The king, out of his causes of mercy, will be forgetful and forgiving. As a protector of this world, he will be as tolerant as the earth itself. So, somebody want to make nice notes for this. So, first quality of a king as a son. Son is liberal, as Prabhupada was saying before. So I'm just bringing the word liberal, which means son is unbiased. He offers sunshine to everyone. Similarly, the king will be unbiased or liberal or broad-minded as the sun. Next, the king will be forbearing like earth. Although we may trample the earth does not take away the shelter. Similarly, this is what been described here as any devta have been Bhudevi. So king will act as a Bhudevi, in other words, as an earth, forbearing and forgiving. That's about it. Text number 8. When there is no rainfall, the cities are in great danger due to scarcity of water. This royal personality Godhead will be able to supply rains exactly like the heavenly king Indra. Thus, he will be very easily able to protect the citizens from drought. So, the citizens are in great danger due to the scarcity of water. This royal personality Godhead will be able to supply rains exactly. Thus, he's very easily able to protect the citizens from drought. Okay, I don't know in terms of what could be the quality, but yeah, he'll act as a king Indra, Devta Indra. Text number 9. This King Prithu Maharaj, by virtue of his affectionate glances and beautiful moon-like face, which is always smiling with great affection for the citizens, will enhance everyone's peaceful life. Very important. The king himself will be happy, and peaceful. Imagine looking at the agitating face of a king, and everyone is supposed to draw inspiration. The King Prithu Maharaj, by virtue of his affectionate glances and beautiful moon-like face, which is always smiling with great affection for the citizens, will enhance everyone's peaceful life. Text number 10. The reciters continue, no one will be able to understand the policies the king will follow. His activities will also be very confidential, and it will not be possible for anyone to know how he will make every activity successful. Okay, I'll just pause here. We'll take a look at later part later on. We are in the times when we're talking about the right to information. Everything government does, every policy, the exact price tag for Rafale TV. Is Modi ji buying S-500 or not? Everything should be in a public domain. But here is very interesting, they're saying, people will not understand the king's policies only, king's decisions only. They will be maintained so confidential. I'll read again. No one will be able to understand the policies the king will follow. His activities will also be very confidential, and it will not be possible for anyone to know how he will make every activity successful. What are your thoughts onto this? We kind of are living in a time where we feel like, प्रजा को सब समझना चाहिए, और प्रजा भी डिमांड करती है, जब तक हम समझेंगे नहीं, हम फॉलो नहीं करेंगे. What are your thoughts onto it? What do you think about it? Or any challenge, any question here? People will not understand the policies only. Of course, it's not a failed policy. The king will be successful. The question is that people will not understand the policy. How come people can follow the policy? Yes, Madan.
Prabhuji, nowadays there is democracy and therefore people want to know everything because they feel that they have elected the person. But when we talk about these kings, monarchy was there, so they just followed him as the representative of God.
Okay, fine. Let's bring the system in ISKCON. RTI is acting very much in ISKCON also. If you know or not. We may not have an official right to information act, but this is not public demand. We have every right to know. I don't know how much should I go into details, but we may be living in a democratic culture, but aren't we demanding the same thing within the ISKCON side also?
The one more thing is that people don't trust each other these days. It is the influence of Kali that
Both the things. To give a benefit of doubt to our audience also is we may not have that capable leaders also. Leadership of that level is also missing. Maybe we can say that. And to this, somewhere we have to have a harmony again. We have to find out the balance. But valid is valid. People not having faith. Leadership is also not that capable, and whatever way it could be. It's not that all leadership is bad. But it was in the past, the culture was like this. His treasury will always remain unknown to everyone. He will be the reservoir of unlimited glories and good qualities, and position will be maintained and covered just as the one of the deities of the seas is covered all around by water. Prabhupada writes, in the last few lines of the first paragraph, indeed, King Prithu's path of diplomacy was very grave. His success was made possible because he was a reservoir of unlimited glorified qualities. King Prithu's path of diplomacy was very grave in the sense, Prabhupada is using the word grave, which means it's not something which everyone will be able to comprehend like that. So we'll leave it at this point of time. We'll see it in the future when we go into detailed discussion. Prabhupada writes again in the second paragraph, just as a king, last few lines, has a right to keep his treasury confidential and secret, the people should also keep their individual earning a secret. There is no fault in such dealings. The main point is that everyone should be trained in the system of Ashram and Dhamma so that the money is spent only for good causes and nothing else. Text number 11. King Prithu was born on the dead body of King Vena as fire is produced from Arani wood. Thus King Prithu will always remain just like fire, and his enemies will not be able to approach him. Indeed, he will be unbearable to his enemies, for although staying very near him, they will never be able to approach him, but will have to remain as if far away. No one will be able to overcome the strength of King Prithu like that. So King Prithu has been compared here with fire. He will still remain like fire. Nobody can approach fire easily. So that's in context with enemies. Text number 12. King Prithu will be able to see all the internal and external activities of every one of his citizens. Still no one will be able to know his system of espionage. And he himself will remain neutral regarding all matters of glorification or vilification paid to him. So he will remain detached, neutral to all the glories and all the curses that he may get. He will be exactly like air, the light force within the body, which is exhibited internal and externally, but is always neutral to all affairs. This is in context with the Supreme Lord, like that. Text number 13. Since this king will always remain on the path of piety, he will be neutral to both his son and the son of his enemy. If the son of his enemy is not punishable, he will not punish him. But if his own son is punishable, he will immediately punish him. We spoke about this, how selflessness is needed for that. Text number 14. Just as the sun god expands the shining rays up to the Arctic. In our context, it could be, if let's say we're talking about a congregation, if our child is not good in singing and someone else's child is good in singing, so then we'll encourage that, something like that. Based on who can serve better, we should follow that principle. Just as the sun god expands the shining rays up to the Arctic region without impedance, the influence of King Prithu will cover all tracts of land up to the Arctic region and will remain undisturbed as long as he lives. So it's about his influence will be all over. This king will please everyone by his practical activities, and all of his citizens will remain very satisfied. Because those citizens will take great satisfaction accepting him as their ruling king. In other words, he'll be able to serve the Praja properly, and because of which Praja will be happy, and both of them will continue to function happily. This king will be firmly determined. It's a very important point. I just kind of moving forward in a thing. The king cannot function for long if Praja is not happy. You'll see that again in 6th canto, when Angira Muni came to meet Chitraketu Maharaj. He asked him, he saw that Chitraketu was not happy because he didn't have a son. So the Angira Muni said, is your Praja not happy with you? Is your Praja not giving you taxes in time? Is your Praja not cooperating with you? Again, it's a symbiotic relationship. So king cannot think, or the leader cannot think, I don't care what people think. No, he has to be conscious. If they are happy, then you are happy. The king will be firmly determined and always situated in truth. He will be a lover of the Brahminical culture and will render all service to old men and give shelter to all surrendered souls. Giving respect to all. He will always be merciful to the poor and innocent. Like that. Determined and always situated in truth. So will be determined. The king will be firmly determined. What is the meaning of this quality of determined in relationship to leadership? What does determination do? Be truthful. Be truthful. Truthful in the sense, one example is just the previous verse. Let's say your enemy's son is innocent, but your own son is culprit. Being truthful means accept it. That is one definition in action. What would determination means for a leader in practical action? Yes, Madan.
It could mean being inspired and being patient.
Determination in action. Okay.
Being disciplined.
Okay. Being disciplined. What else? Determination. Being truthful and action, we saw that, for example. Being determined. See, you announce certain policies. Now, there could be back and forth for it. Some people may like, dislike and whatnot. For a leader, if he just sits and does daydreaming, nothing will happen. Determination means हमने कुछ निर्णय लिया है, उसको conclusion तक लेकर जाएंगे. Are you getting that? That requires a lot of determination. And of course that requires discipline. So that requires determination. How many of you agree? Maybe it could be a self-reflection, or it could be, you might have seen, people say many things. हम ये कर देंगे, वो कर देंगे, पर उनसे होता कुछ नहीं है. They just cannot really do something on the ground. How many of you agree with that? Have you seen people like that? Please. I'm not saying some big things, even small things. They may have fantastic ideas, but they just cannot create and maintain it up to the conclusion. Yes or no? Same thing, please reflect on yourself. We may be having ideas, हम ऐसा कर देंगे, वैसा कर देंगे. कभी कुछ करा है? क्यों नहीं करा है? Determination is one thing, but there are many other things along with that is needed. We are missing, our personality is missing certain things, because of which we have got good ideas, but हम उसको एक end result तक लेके नहीं जाते. Imagine if you have a leader like this. कुछ होगा समाज में? Can you have anything in the society or in the community if a leader is like this, who just says, but he cannot do anything, he cannot drive people together to take up to that particular initiative. So that's the point I'm seeing for the quality of determination in action. What he says, does it. If there is a policy, he fulfills it. That's the point. Text number 17. The king will respect all women as if they were his own mother. So this is about sexual purity. I'm speaking in the today's context. There's something called as posh, right? You guys know posh? What is posh?
Prevention of sexual.
Prevention of sexual harassment. That's called posh. This is in the corporate culture now, right? So I'm putting in the context of that. Matavat paradhareshu, what it means for a leader, sexual purity. Now how do you bring up sexual purity? There has to be certain conduct, which means, as I've said in the past, I'm not speaking in the context of our ISKCON as community, there should not be any guidance offered to a lady by a man. There's just no meaning of that. Even if any lady needs a guidance, then she should accompany with her husband, or else she should accompany with another lady. There should not be any one-to-one conversation. And for those who are into the role of offering guidance, they have to also make sure. For those who are married, it's very easy. If any Mataji comes, direct her to a Mataji. And if in case you think Mataji is not mature, let's say your good wife is not able to handle that, then through her you guide. Not that we guide directly. These are some of the ways we can maintain and we can cultivate sexual purity and prevent ourselves like that. So these are, this is the way kind of thing. And other thing is, our interaction should be highly restricted to service. Even if there has to be communication, there has to be communication related to service. There should not be any jalpa, any side compositions. Of course, in terms of when there is a close relationship with the family and so forth, there could be, but it should be always in a public forum, not in a private forum. These are some of the things we can. And he will treat his own wife as other half of his body. What does it mean by other half of the body? Ardhangani. तो उसका मतलब क्या है? What does it mean? Which means? Sharing what? Bank account?
Sharing happiness and...
Okay, let me ask the ladies here. What would you mean by 50-50% share? Ladies, what do you say? Ladies online. अर्धांगी का आपका हक क्या है? 50-50.
मतलब सब कुछ शेयर होना चाहिए जिससे हम उनके चीज़ों में भी हेल्प कर सकें अगर जरूरत पड़े तो.
Most important 50-50. सबसे महत्वपूर्ण चीज क्या है?
आई थिंक सुख दुख में एक साथ में रहना.
ओके, सबसे महत्वपूर्ण क्या है जिसका सबसे ज्यादा कंप्लेन आप लेडीज करते हो, जिसमें आपको हक नहीं बनाया जाता?
टाइम
डिसीजन मेकिंग. नो, डिसीजन मेकिंग तुम लोग को भी नहीं पता क्या चाहिए. डिसीजन मेकिंग यस और नो? लेट मी आस्क द लेडीज हियर. डिसीजन मेकिंग यस और नो? आप सबकी सबसे ज्यादा कंप्लेन क्या रहती है? हमारे डिसीजन मेकिंग में इन्वॉल्व नहीं किया जाता. डिसीजन मेकिंग. आदमी अपना डिसीजन ले लेता है, पूछता नहीं है कुछ. बाकी सब तो आपके कल्चर से कवर हो गया है, सुख दुख में। ये कोई कहने वाली बात है यार? ये तो तुमने साथ मेरे लेते समय कसम खाई थी, ये थोड़ा ना है। वो होना वो ठीक है, बट सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम जो जिसकी ट्रेनिंग नहीं है, जिसका कोई संकल्प नहीं लिया गया, वो क्या है? डिसीजन मेकिंग। So 50-50 Adhang is decision making here, okay? हाँ, माता भी कंफ्यूज हैं, उनको क्या चाहिए? Alright, he'll be just like an affectionate father to his citizens. Yeah, so again, Praja is a child. We discussed that before already. He will treat himself as the most obedient servant of the devotees. He will always preach the glories of the Lord, like that. We'll take one last verse because my battery is running out now. Text number 18. Dehinamaatmavat preshtaha Suhridam nandivardhana Mukta sangha prasangoyam Dandapane asadushu. So ये दंड की बात आ रही है. The king will consider all embodied living entities as dear as his own self. And he will always be increasing the pleasures of his friends. He will ultimately associate with liberated persons, and he will be chastising hand to all impious persons. Puppet. Somebody read the puppet with mic. Yeah.
The word Dehinam refers to those who are embodied. The living entities are embodied in different forms, which number 84 lakh species. All of these were treated by the king in the same way he would treat himself. In this age, however, so-called kings and presidents do not treat all other living entities as their own self. Most of them are meat-eaters, and even though they may not be meat-eaters, and may possess themselves to be very religious and pious, they still allow cow slaughter within their state. Such sinful heads of the state cannot actually be popular at any time. Another significant word in this verse is Mukta Sangha Prasangaha, which indicates that the king was always associating with liberated persons.
Hare Krishna. I'll pause here. We'll take it further verses tomorrow. Any questions or any comments? We'll take one question, if any. Yeah, go ahead.
Prabhuji, you were mentioning that the leader has to sacrifice, and he doesn't have his life as such. He has to kind
Usually
of
means public life.
public life. Yes. So the point over
Private
here.
life just doesn't. They don't have any. Therefore, everything around them would be generally very organized, lavish, and things like that. So whenever they get some little break, they're able to, and it would be so protected. The idea of the palace, they have their own private garden. Imagine, there was a public park, and king goes to public park with a family. Again, there is no privacy. So there were things provided like this. Why the king will have his own private lawn? Yes. That was the whole idea, where he can have his privacy, because it's too much public life. Like that. Yeah, go ahead.
So the point over here is, Prabhuji, that the king will always give his time and make decisions with an intention to keep, with the intention to keep his kingdom flourishing and happy. However, he will have to make certain decisions where maybe his family is involved, and which he's not being just to them, like that. Like, for example, he has so many queens, he might not be able to give them time. So as a husband, he has to give time, but as a king, he cannot give time. So there are 2-3 roles that the king is playing, one on the family level, one on the public level. So, maybe he's a very great king, but if he's not giving time to his wife and not doing all what he needs to do as a husband and as a father, maybe he's failing somewhere as a father and a husband.
Okay, let me ask this question. If you're talking about husband-wife relationship,
It's not only husband-wife, it could be anything, familial matters. He's not giving importance to his familial matters. Just like Lord Ramchandra, for example. I know it will be a wrong example to say, but
in family matters, even if you look within just a generation or two before, all decisions were not made by a husband and wife. those decisions were made generally in consultation with our senior family members. We have got a very wrong understanding of family life. Therefore, our whole culture has got spoiled. See, wife, because you have raised the question, let me give you some perspectives here. Husband and wife time was very limited. Go back and look how much your Nana Nani spent time with each other. You know, this is not meant to be. Man and woman are not meant to be there with each other for long. They're gonna fight. They're gonna be friction. You don't trust me? Look around. You look at how elderly parents staying together alone. They just fight like cat and dog. It is not meant to be like that. So how in the joint family system used to be, because that's how everything was family system, joint family system, ladies will be with ladies and kids. And they'll be happy with their things. A lady without a child even can have as much amount of time with the husband, will never be happy if she doesn't have a child. She needs to have a child, that's the way the system is designed. You give her a child, done. You know, not one. Therefore, there's a system of at least 2-3 kids. So, there is so much vasalya in her to take care. You know, so therefore, why would have 10-12 kids? And she would be happy. Now, think about, I remember in those days when, you had, let's say, my Nanaji, who was a Jamindar and, had shops and all that. Nani would come, or let's say my Mama, Mami, in that case, they'll come some breakfast, nothing doing, no talk. Chapati bola, chale gaye. He will go out for a shop, come back, have lunch, then go to sleep. That was a routine, take a nap. We get up, they will have servants. Servants will come and wake up, again go to the shop, again come back in the evening, have prasadam, then they have their private chamber with the wife, they go sleep. All through the day, I never saw them having chit-chat or talking, nothing. Ladies were busy in their own routine. अब जो हम उसको change नहीं कर सकते, we cannot change the whole thing, but that's a culture before it was. This whole family life and all that wasn't like that. Regarding the family larger decision, the husband was given the freedom to function and deal with the outside challenges. He will go out and earn the bread. He had to make those decisions. In-house decisions were made by the grandparents. Many times the father would not even know Tinku Pinku kaun si class mein aa gaya. They were just not involved in family affairs because the parents will make decisions. They would know nothing that, husband and wife will sit and now they will break the head of each other and they will understand bachche ke saath kya karna hai. Aisa nahi tha pehle. Even if you just go, you can go and ask your mother, if you have a grandmother, talk to her. What was the thing with their parents? This is how it was. Now when you go back into this culture, what we're talking, how different it would be. अभी हम लोग क्यों इतना परेशान रहते हैं क्योंकि सारा डिसीजन मेकिंग हमारे 360 डिग्री लाइफ का हमने अपनों पर ले लिया है. And we are not trained in that. Therefore, we are so frustrated and agitated at times. हमारा वो training ही नहीं हुआ. Okay. And we don't have experience. We don't have experienced people around us. वो पूरा ecosystem तोड़ दिया गया है. Because of which we are so troubled, and I know anyone can easily fool us. For everything we depend on guidance. किसी को खेलना सिखाना है तो खेलने के लिए हमने कोचिंग लगा रखी. हर चीज के लिए तो हमें एडवाइस चाहिए. एक पति पत्नी एक माता पिता क्या कर लेंगे? Can the father be the teacher, father be the sports teacher, be the musician? Nothing. So it was a whole ecosystem that will run. And that whole thing was run by mother. She will take care of the kids. She will raise the kids. The father will go and face the world. That was the system. There was hardly, you tell me if you agree or disagree. How much time earlier in those days, husband, wife had so much conversation? Do you think today there is a lot conversation as compared to past? And in the past, when there was hardly a conversation, everyone grew up peacefully. Everyone grew up to become something. In the last 200 years, we were economically, really shattered, so we would not have much opportunity. It's a different thing. But like that, it was a different culture. So this whole family responsibility and all that, the onus was, therefore the focus was a lot on having a good wife, good lady. Dharmic. She is said to be the backbone. A lot of decision making was with her. And how she would function? She would function with the grandparents. And there was a whole family to support. And they would all together. So Viduji said in the Mahabharata, raising a child is not a job of a family. Raising a child is a job of a village. Why we are sitting and trying to build a community and trying to bring the concept of community? Now why this whole idea that we should have a temple and there should we have a community around it? It is your need to have a sustainable life. Even if temple comes and yet you decide to live at abstract, remote places, it will not serve you. The whole idea of having a temple and having a community movement. Now even if temple comes, now apartment comes, now you say, Prabhuji, 3 BHK is smaller than my need and all that. It will never be fulfilling to you. You have to see the whole idea is what we're trying to build is an ecosystem to protect ourselves from the external influences. Where whoever you are, the matter of fact is, material life is never going to be fulfilling. You have to compromise here or there. Now you want to compromise on our cultural side, then you have to suffer. So we have to gradually come to this situation. Now why am I pushing for a center? At least start somewhere where we all can come and assemble. And eventually come to a temple where we all come and live right next to a temple. So we create our solid ecosystem. Where all of you as a family are able to raise kids. And if we have enough families, then we can have our own school system. Things like that. To say that, Prabhuji, so many parents come and tell me, Prabhuji, आप school start कर दो. मैंने कहा बच्चे तेरे हैं, पालू मैं. ये बढ़िया है तुम लोग का यार. मतलब शर्म नहीं आती बोलते हुए. जब मैं तुमसे कहता हूँ ऐसा करो, वो होता नहीं प्रभुजी हम अपना घर नहीं छोड़ेंगे, हम ये नहीं करेंगे. Like you see what kind of unrealistic expectations people have. Yeah, you call them too selfish. मैंने कहा अच्छा यार, हर कभी जाके बोलता है प्रभुजी आप स्कूल आप खोल देना. मैं क्यों स्कूल खोलूँ, मैं क्यों स्कूल खोलूँ यार, अपने से एक आश्रम से संभाला नहीं जा रहा है ना, ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम बच्चों को स्कूल आप खोल दो. So unrealistic. So if you want to create a sustainable community or sustainable life for your future generation, for your kids, we have to invest in community now. So you may think, अरे प्रभु जी मेरे बच्चे बड़े हो गए, उनको तो फायदा मिलेगा नहीं, पर आपके बच्चों को फायदा मिलेगा जब वो सेटल होंगे. And if you build a community, if you don't build a community, we all, and the congregation suffers the most. Unfortunately, they don't realize it. They keep moving from here and there, and then the kids get external influences. फिर बच्चे बिगड़ जाते हैं. It's so tough today. Do you think it's easy to raise a child? And then some become non-devotees and whatnot. I was a new Mayapur, a very senior devotee who has dedicated his life, has been serving for more than 40 years there. Finally, he had to go to Paris and had to catch a bus. So he asked his son to drop me. And his son was, born in the movement kind of thing. Let's say his name was Shyam Sundar, I don't remember the name right now. Now, born into the movement, born into practicing everything, but now he's not a devotee. And how did I got to know? Till the time I was sitting in the car, he was sitting peacefully. When we reached the bus stop, finally the car stopped. The very first thing he did was coming out of the car and he started smoking. Because he didn't want to smoke in front of me. Now the car is there, we reached. So he went out of the car, started. And then I realized why his father was so reluctant for me to talk to him much. He said, "Prabhuji, bas aap baith ke chale jao." Chale jao. So I was just wondering what happened. And his son had not come for any of the program also. And when I saw that, I felt so sad, so sad. He had Kanthimala. He had innocence on his face. He is born and brought up in the movement. But look what is he doing now. This is what this is. Now imagine what would you do as a parent. What your parenting can do. You talk about parenting, spending time with your kids. Spend time as much time. You cannot spend as much time as you can ever with your kids as much as your school spend or the kids spend in the school. This is complete bogus theory we are spreading here. We are not focusing on the main thing. How much? I'm not saying parents should spend time. Compulsory. I'm not saying that. But you have to look at the larger picture. How much ever time you spend, if you don't give them good friends, nothing will change for them. So just like our राम नवमी पे हमने बुलाया था ना अपने MBC से प्रभु क्या नाम है, मुकुंदानंद प्रभु. He said, don't instruct your son or don't instruct your kid to become Krishna conscious. If you want your child to become Krishna conscious, instruct his friends. If his friends are devotees, or if they become devotees, your son will, what it means, community. Where would it happen? It will only happen in a community, na? अब आप कर लो पेरेंटिंग, हम जितना भी करना है. जाओ रह लो अकेले, मैं बच्चे को भक्त बनाऊंगा, कुछ नहीं बनने वाला ऐसा करके. So, but we are also not willing to compromise on our material comforts, na? You don't compromise on your material comforts. I need a house like this, I need facility like this. Then you will have a mental discomfort. Now we have to pick a choice. You want a bigger mental discomfort, which is more easy to handle? Bodily discomfort or mental discomfort? Which is easier to handle? It's a bodily discomfort. Why do so much take bodily discomfort so seriously? But all your decision making, if you see, is based on bodily convenience. ऐसा होना चाहिए, वैसा होना चाहिए. Nothing works like this. It does not work like that. Yes, mother.
आपने बताया बच्चों के साथ मतलब वाइफ को बच्चों के साथ मतलब टाइम स्पेंड करना चाहिए, मतलब उनका वो एरिया है, आपने ऐसे बोला है ना. लेकिन जब स्पिरिचुअल ये सेवाओं से रिलेटेड चीज़ें हों और अपनी साधना से रिलेटेड चैलेंजेस आएँ, तब भी अगर हमें कन्वर्सेशन नहीं करना है तो फिर तो साधना भी रुक जाएगी और ये सेवाएं भी रुक जाएंगी.
कन्वर्सेशन नहीं करना है.
कन्वर्सेशन हस्बैंड वाइफ के साथ, अगर वो
हस्बैंड वाइफ कन्वर्सेशन थोड़ा डिफाइन कर रहा था. मैं तो सिर्फ आपको बता रहा था पहले कल्चर कैसे होता था. एंड यू कैन नॉट ब्रिंग दैट कल्चर इमीडिएटली नाउ. एंड वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट, आई एम जस्ट सेइंग हाउ द कल्चर वाज बिफोर. अभी तो आपके पास वो सुविधा है ही नहीं. अभी तो आप जैसे जी रहे हो आपको वैसे ही जीना पड़ेगा. अब आप इसमें कहोगे बिकॉज हम कृष्णा कॉन्शियस में आ गए तो ये बदलना चाहिए वो बदलना चाहिए, नहीं बदलेगा एकदम से. आप समझ रहे हो ना. आप बताइए, अगर इफ यू आर स्टेइंग एज अ न्यूक्लियर फैमिली, तो आपके जो न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज के जो ड्रॉबैक्स हैं आपको वो फेस करने पड़ेंगे, इवन इफ यू आर डिवोटी.
अगर प्रभु जी फेस कर भी लें तो फिर उसका प्रचार पे तो इफेक्ट आएगा ही आएगा, क्योंकि एक वुमेन इमोशनली अगर उसको सपोर्ट नहीं मिल रहा है तो उसका कहीं ना कहीं इफेक्ट आएगा, बच्चों पे आएगा और प्रचार पे आएगा, साधना पे भी आएगा.
Which is true. So to overcome those drawbacks, therefore we need a community, we need a support system.
फिर बच्चों का क्या प्रभु जी, मतलब बच्चे अगर घर में अगर वो एटमॉस्फेयर देखेंगे तो वो कहीं और वो अपने इमोशन शेयर करेंगे, तो उनका भी तो होगा.
hundreds of challenges and unlimited challenges. I'm saying अभी हम सब अगर न्यूक्लियर फैमिली में रह ही रहे हैं, हमारा वो पूरा इकोसिस्टम टूट चुका है. जो जॉइंट फैमिली का एडवांटेजेस होते थे अब नहीं है. अब ये ISKCON की तो जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, ये कृष्णा कॉन्शियस की जिम्मेदारी तो है नहीं जॉइंट फैमिली देने की. अब हम क्या कर सकते हैं, हम आपके लिए कम्युनिटी बना सकते हैं. उस कम्युनिटी से आपको सपोर्ट सिस्टम मिल सकता है. क्या इमीडिएटली आपको सारा सपोर्ट सिस्टम मिल जाएगा? वो डिपेंड करेगा उस कम्युनिटी के मेंबर्स की मैच्योरिटी के ऊपर. वो आपको किस प्रकार से गाइडेंस देते हैं. यस और नो. अब एकदम से सब कुछ तो नहीं मिलेगा. अब जब प्रभुपाद जी ने जब गए थे, प्रभुपाद जी स्टार्टेड इट एंड नाउ आफ्टर 50 years वी गॉट समथिंग. तो जो प्रभुपाद जी की शुरुआत में शिष्य थे, फैमिलीज थी या जो भी उनसे जुड़े हुए थे, दे टुक अपॉन ओवर देमसेल्व्स. If we don't have it, we will create it. तो उस प्रकार से कहीं ना कहीं तो हमें चेक एंड बैलेंस करके करना पड़ेगा. एंड कम्युनिटी से जितनी आप गाइडेंस या स्ट्रेंथ डिराइव कर सकते हो उतनी डिराइव करिए. सो राइट नाउ पॉइंट इज यू आर इन अ पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन, ऑल ऑफ यू इन अ गृहस्थाना. यू नीड टू सी हाउ यू फाइंड अ बैलेंस. और उसके लिए आप कम्युनिटी से जितना आपको गाइडेंस सपोर्ट सिस्टम मिल सकता है उतना लीजिए. और आप जो उससे सीख रहे हैं उसको सीख कर आप आगे उस सपोर्ट सिस्टम को देने के लिए लायक बने. You become qualified, ताकि जो मुझे नहीं मिला मैं आगे लोगों को दे सकूं. That is a good example setting. क्योंकि हर एक को हर समय हर चीज़ नहीं मिलती. पर नहीं मिले इसका मतलब नहीं है कि मैं अब उसको आगे ना दे सकूं. I will become trained up, I will become mature so that I offer that. तो जो challenges मुझे या मेरे परिवार को हुए, ताकि आगे परिवार को ना हो, मैं वो गाइडेंस देना चाहूँगा. उसके लिए मैं प्रॉपरली ट्रेन हूँ. उतना तो कर ही सकते हैं. अब किसी भी कम्युनिटी में चले जाइए, 100% आपको सब चीज़ नहीं होगा. सो जितना इस हिसाब से हम कर सकते हैं, सबसे पहले हमें अपनी स्थिति समझकर, उसके बाद there are certain things to be addressed, then we can talk about it one to one.
थोड़ी तो लिमिटेशन हो जाती है. जो सेवा हम डबल ट्रिपल कर सकते हैं वो सेवाएं पर इफेक्ट पड़ता है प्रभु जी.
ऑफ कोर्स पड़ेगा.
तो अगर वो चैलेंजेस लेने को तैयार है फिर आए.
हमें वो तो है. अब एग्जाम में जैसे आपकी तबीयत खराब हो गई, अब तबीयत खराब हो गई तो आप जो कर सकते थे उतने दिनों तक नहीं होगा. विच इज़ ट्रू. व्हाट कैन बी डन. पॉइंट इज अब फॉर एग्जाम्पल ऐसे माई हेल्थ लिटिल बिट डाउन फॉर द लास्ट 2-3 days, अब मेरा इतना सारा बैकलॉग हो गया है, अब इस कंडीशन में मैं जो कर सकता हूँ कम से कम उतना तो करके चलूँ, उतना करके चलते हैं. एंड आई रिमेन होपफुल कि मैं 1-2 दिन के बाद जब तबीयत ठीक हो जाएगी, आई विल बाउंस बैक, आई विल ट्राई टू रिन्यू व्हाट ऑल आई कैन डू. और जितना मैं सपोर्ट ले सकता हूँ भाई, मेरे को हेल्थ के लिए चाहिए, आपको इमोशनल हेल्थ के लिए चाहिए तो इमोशनल हेल्थ के लिए जितना सपोर्ट ले सकते हैं. कुछ सजेशंस हैं, तो सजेशन चाहिए, हम उसमें उसको डेवलप कर सकते हैं सिस्टम्स. सो वी हैव टू डू इट. तो उस प्रकार से वी ग्रो टुगेदर एज अ कम्युनिटी, है ना. एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द डे भौतिक दुनिया रहेगी. एंड योर हस्बैंड गोना बी योर हस्बैंड, योर वाइफ गोना बी योर वाइफ. और आपको वो पैकेज डील जो मिल चुकी है वो स्वीकारना पड़ेगा. या इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट, उसमें हम कुछ बदल नहीं सकते. वो तो जो डील आपको आई थी, जो थी, वो है अब आपकी. और उस डील को आपको उस हिसाब से काम करना पड़ेगा. डोंट हैव दिस अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशन कि भाई अब आप बदल जाओ. कुछ चीज़ें बदलने में काफ़ी समय लगता है, पर्टिकुलरली व्यक्ति की मानसिकता, काम करने का तरीका, उसमें बहुत समय लगता है, बहुत समय लगता है. हरे कृष्ण. All right, we pause here. Thank you all for your attention.